Hello, my name is Sanjeev Venkatesh, and today we're going to be looking at SAT Math Advanced Math problems, and we're going to be looking at equivalent equations, hard difficulty questions, and as always, we have a set of 5 problems. Let's go into our first one. So their first problem is saying the equation above is true for all x, where a and b are constants. What is the value of a and b? So a times b. And our equation is ax plus 3 times 5x squared minus bx plus 4 should be equal to 20x to the third minus 9x squared minus 2x plus 12. So how are you going to be solving this problem? What we're going to be doing is we're going to be expanding the left-hand side out. So I'm sure you guys all know how to use the FOIL method. All we're going to be doing is doing that except with quadratics also involved. So ax times 5x squared is equal to 5a x to the third plus ax minus bx, so that's minus abx, and this is squared, and since this is plus of negative, you can just say minus, okay, plus 4 times ax, so 4ax, plus 3 times 5x squared, so that's plus 15x squared, plus 3 times negative bx, so minus 3bx, plus 4 times 3, which is 12. And this would be equal to 20x to the third minus 9x squared minus 2x plus 12. Now we can simplify this a bit. The 12s will get removed. Okay. And your what you can do next is look at what you have here. We see that 5a, 5a will be equal to 20, right? And how are we getting that? Well, we know that 20x to the third is our only value with x to the third, and 5ax to the third is also the only one in our left side. So 5a should be equal to 20, right? So that means that a should be equal to 4. A should be equal to 4. And then if we look here, we can see that you have the equation 4ax minus 3bx, and then that should be equal to negative 2x, right? So dividing everything by by x, we get 4a minus 3b should be equal to 2. Negative 2. You know that a is equal to 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 3b should be equal to negative 2. So then that would be 18 should be equal to 3b, right? And that would mean that b would be equal to 18 over 3. What we can do next is simply multiply them together, and we get, so what we get is 18 divided by 3, which is 6, and AB is 6 times 4, and that is equal to 24. And that's our answer, which is C. Now, there are other ways you could have approached this, but they all involve expanding out the left-hand side. It just, some methods involve using the minus abx squared term and plus 15x squared, and that would be equal to, negative 9x squared. But that's another method. I just chose this one because the math is slightly a bit more simpler. Moving on to the next question. Oh, wait, one sec. What we have is, this is the next one, yeah. Which of the following equation is /r a factor of 3x squared plus 20x minus 63? So we have the options x minus 9 and 3x minus 7. So what we need to do is use, well, there are multiple methods, but one is using the quadratic equation. However, there's another method that I can teach you right here. So if you have 3x squared plus 20x minus 63, right? what you can do is take our coefficient of the x squared term, which is 3, and remove it. Okay, so x squared plus 20x. What we need to do is this that 3 will become negative 63 times 3. Okay, so negative 63 times 3 would be, 1 second here, let me do the math. Negative, I believe it's 189, right? So 189, and then what we can do is factor this out. So I think it would be, give me a second here to calculate. Oh, this should be 20, by the way. I believe it is a case of 21 times 9. 1 second. Well, we can just factor this out. Okay. Okay. And then, okay, yeah. So this would be equal to x plus 27 times x minus 7. Okay. Now, if we do this, we'll get the quadratic for this equation, not for this one. So what we would need to do is divide our non-x term in our factors, which is the 27 and the negative 7, by our a, which is 3. So what we do is we do x plus 27 over 3 times x minus 7 over 3. So x plus 27 over 3 is simply x plus 9, right? And x minus 7 over 3, well, 7 over 3 cannot be done, right? Because that is, well, I mean, it can be done, but that's not what we're looking for in this problem. So when you cannot divide it or simplify it further, what we would do is take the denominator and put it into the x term. So it would be 3x minus 7. So that's how we would factor this, okay? And if we look here, the only choice that that matches is part B, because x minus 9 is not an option. It should have been x plus 9. So that's how you answer this question. Let's move on to the next one. Our next question is, if the square root of x to the 5th over this cube root of x to the 4th is equal to x to the a over b for all positive values of x, what is the value of a over b, right? So what we do in this problem is first we turn all our radicals and our terms into exponents in terms of fractions, okay? So x to the 5th, and we're square rooting that, okay? Square root is means to take x to the 1/2. So exponent rules state if you have, say, x to the 5th times x to the 1/2, or sorry, 2x to the 1/2. So, sorry, x to the 5th to the 1/2. That's just the same thing as x to the 5 over 2, right? So this would turn out to be x to the 5 over 2. Similarly, we can do the same thing to our denominator, and we get x to the 4 over 3. And this looks really complicated, but it's actually easier than it looks, especially if you're doing this on paper. Okay, and then from our exponential rules, we know that if you have x to something divided by x to another something, we just subtract and we'll get x to the a minus b per se, where a is our numerator coefficient or numerator exponent term, and b is our denominator exponent term. So that means that it would be x to the 5 over 2 minus 4 over 3. Okay? And what does that get us? Well, that would be x to the, 15 over 6 minus 8 over 6. Right? And then that will just lead to 7 over 6 as our fraction. So our answer will just be simply 7 over 6. And that's how you solve this problem. And let's move on to our next question. It states the equation above is true for all x is greater than 2, where r and t are positive constants. What's the value of r times t? Okay, so we know that the equation is true for all x is greater than 2. If we look at our right hand side, we see that we have denominators of both x over x minus 2 and x plus 5. Okay? And this makes sense intuitively because if it is above, if x is greater than 2, that means that neither of these terms will be equal to 0, right? Because as long as it's greater than negative 5, x plus 5 term will always not be 0. And as long as it's greater than 2, x minus 2 term will always be, greater than 0. What we're going to be doing now is expanding or finding a common denominator for our right-hand term. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So we know that we need to have a common denominator of x minus 2 times x plus 5. We already have these terms right here. So we're just going to do 2 times x plus 5 plus 3 times x minus 2. All of this over x minus 2 times x plus 5. Okay, so based on that, we can figure out that 2 times x plus 5 plus 3 times x minus 2 will be equal to rx plus t, right? Because it has the same, common denominator, and we know that they're equal. So we'd expand out our left-hand side a bit more, and you get 2x plus 10 plus 3x minus 6 will be equal to rx plus t, and that 5x plus 4 will be equal to rx plus t. Now we know what r and t is, right? R is 5 and t is 4. So r times t will be equal to 5 times 4, which is 20. And that's our answer for this problem. Moving on to our last problem for the day. It is, for what value of x is the given expression equivalent to 70n to 30x where n is greater than 1? What we'll need to do is, again, expand out or turn each of the radicals into fractions, okay? Or fractional exponents, okay? Yeah, that would be the best term to put it. So 70, we have this fifth root of 70n. So that's 70n to the 1/5. And then times, we have the square of the sixth root of 70n. So that would be 70n to the 2 over 6. 2 over 6 is simply 1 over 3, and we can simplify that way. Now, when we have this sort of situation, we just use like the product rule of exponents. Since they have the same base, and this should be n, this should have an n by the way. Since they have the same base, we can just add up the exponents, and we'll get 70n to the 1 over 5 plus 1 over 3. Okay? And based on this, we can see that 1 over 5 plus 1 over 3 should be equal to 30x, right? Because 70n to the 30x should be equal to this. So turning and finding a common denominator for this, we would get 8 over 15 should be equal to 30x. And that dividing both sides by 30, we get 8 over 15 divided by 30. This is kind of hard to write, so I'll just put it like 450, okay? And we can simplify this a bit further with 4 over 225. And that would be our answer. And that's how you would solve this problem. Thank you all, and have a great day.